Welcome to a quick guide for the freeze roll in Impostors and Rolls, an Among Us game on Roblox. I'd argue it's the second best imposter roll overall, and I'm going to give you some basic info, how to effectively use it, and how to play against it. So as the freeze imposter, you get two simple cooldowns, one of them already being your normal kill button. This snowflake icon right here allows you to freeze almost any interactable objects with about a 12-second cooldown in between each one. Any task, any sabotage, all that can be frozen. This means when someone else touches it, they also become frozen, and the freeze is used up. The button is a go-to for a freezer, and notice that when I freeze, there's a sound and visual for your convenience. Other crewmates do not see or hear these cues, contributing to one of the reasons that makes this roll so good is that it is discreet and stealthy. On top of that, your freezes stay permanently until someone triggers it, spanning over every round, and there's no freezing limit either. So let's go into some tips and strategies since most freezers tend to play their imposter role almost the same. This role isn't one of the best for killing necessarily, but because it excels at sabotaging. The most simple yet effective way to use your freeze is by freezing game-ending sabotages. Toilets seem to be the most popular, but in ranked lobbies the best use would be to freeze all three O2s. If you don't know, ranked lobbies give the players less time to fix sabotages. A whole 30 seconds is allotted for the lobby to fix oxygen specifically. Since they're more coordinated, it's not a huge deal, but the freezer takes full advantage of this, where the crew will be literally powerless trying to stop the sabotage while being frozen. Crewmates can't try to bait out a freeze beforehand either, as the panels to fix a sabotage don't become interactable until it's called. To best do this strategy, keep something in mind. Avoid killing anyone. Other imposters, no visor, or assassin would also not need to kill, as any meeting or report will stop the sabotage, and you'll likely have to rebuild all your freezes again. Don't start the sabotage in a round where you know someone died, and be mindful of the roles in your game. In the case that you are on the Nova Corp map, the new edition, the freezer gets the most mileage out of freezing every shelf in the library in preparation for a fire sabotage. A very lengthy sabotage to extinguish normally, which makes the freezing that much more lethal. Sabotages are just the main use, but in the event that you do kill, you can also freeze dead bodies, making the next person to report it be stuck in ice. Let's quickly go over something people might not think about when playing, which would be your best teammates as the freeze imposter. In my opinion, this would be Quicksand and Gravedigger. For Quicksand, they place quicksand traps that crewmates fall into. They get only 10 seconds for someone else to come and save them from it. A freeze imposter can freeze the trap, just allowing any rescue to confirm a kill. Gravedigger is the same concept. Gravedigger can dig tombstones for dead crewmates. Crewmates would then need to dig the grave in order to report the buried body. So a freeze imposter can also trap these graves, stalling the process even longer. Other imposters have to be careful too when playing with the freezer. Anybody can trigger the trap, even yourself. Here are some rare exceptions to keep in mind if you ever get this role. Firstly, if you are teamed up with a trickster imposter, you can technically freeze their decoy body, but does not trigger any freeze on the person who attempts to report it. Secondly, freezing a body does not prevent a chimera from eating it anyway. For a journalist, a role that alerts the crew of any imposter activity they see, they cannot detect when something has been frozen in their vicinity. An investigator, while they can track if you killed or interacted with anybody, will not be alerted that you froze someone's body. So the freezer is kind of overpowered and ranked, I'd say, but I like to believe there's a counter to every role. Best counter for the ice imposter would be the hacker. The hacker's ability is to type into their console to stop any sabotage. Typically, no one does this, as usually the crewmates finish killing the sabotage before the hacker can 1. Type fast enough, and 2. The console is done quick enough. Not to mention how useless this role might feel for mobile users. If you were to imagine that both of these roles are playing at their best, a hacker completely shuts down all of the freezer's plans. You just have to make sure you stay alive while doing it. Another role I believe comes in handy is the guard. A guard's ability is to be able to check the cameras at any location with access to extra hidden cameras as well. It's especially useful on NovaCorp given that there's no security station to allow crewmates to view cams normally. An active and keen guard might find the freezer's suspicious activity, working best if you can catch them camping toilets or the library. I don't think there are any other crewmate roles that have an extra competitive edge over Freezer. These ones just try to counter the strategy entirely. The best crewmate role will always probably be Agent, the same way how any imposter's best teammate will probably always be the Arsonist, because I mean that role is just broken. As a recap, an Ice Imposter's main win condition is to free sabotages around the map to make it impossible to win. Crewmates should prioritize scouting any areas for traces of the Freezer Imposter over their tasks if you know the Ice Imposter is active. The guard does that best, and your game's hacker just needs to lock in and hopefully be on PC. On a final note, take everything I said here with a grain of salt. I can guarantee at least 90% of the player base, especially in unranked, is not thinking about stuff like this at all. Your Ice Imposter could be hot garbage for all I know. And there's so many roles that can be selected for a round that would change the flow of the game entirely. Everything's not clear cut. But if you do play ranked, you probably already know how broken freeze can be. I just hope this helps beginners in dealing with that. Feel free to ask me questions, I'll answer it if I can. If you want to make your own rules tier list for the game, I linked my template in the description. Okay, bye bye.